Welcome to episode 138 of the Corey Shepherd podcast. Welcome back to everybody who's been listening. Welcome on board for all the new listeners. Of course, you could find this podcast every Tuesday morning, bright and early, on anyways listen to podcasts, right? Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, TuneIn Radio, Audible. Anyways, find thing to listen to, you could find me. And of course, you could come on YouTube and watch my dance, as a man say, watch your bobby head move, you know what I mean, when your music play. And I want to tell everybody before I get into this week's episode, thanks very much for all the feedback on the last episode. And I think everybody feeling the same way about the news about David Rudder. And I want to tell all you, I make up my mind and all the old talk. The listeners help me make up my mind. Salute to everybody who reach out to me and tell me, listen, we go in this show, you had to be there for the culture and all these things. So I feel it's only right that we do it this way. Yes.
What's that royal sound that's bubbling out from your ghetto blaster? That crazy island music that turning the
Slave into the master.
and see the people gather round the red, the white, the black. And if you ain't on our ground, you're
Surely in the back now.
we going to Mr. Music. We saying please, Mr. Music. Oh, oh. We want permission to mash up the place. To give the music some jamming space. We're on a roll now. We're feeling alright. Ooh yeah, yeah, ooh yeah, yeah, ooh yeah. We want permission to show Mr. Fun. We've got so much one to give him some. Well, let the music rule. Let the music rule.
Saturday night.
Here we go now. Bang ba dam bim bim. Bang bim bim bim. Bang ba dam bim bim. Bang ba man bim. Bang bang bim 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 bim. Bang bang bim 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 bim. Bang ba dam bim. Bang bang bim bim bim. Bang ba dam bim bim. Bang ba man bim. Bang bang bim bim bim. Bang bang bim bim bim. Soca is the melody that's bubbling all around you. Lyric blend in harmony too. Totally astound you. And there ain't no mystery, just good old sweat and passion. Hear the people tell Mr. Music, don't you end the session. Oh, please Mr. Music, please Mr. Music. We want permission to mash up the place. To give the music some jamming space. Well, soca's on a roll now. Tell them how you feel. We're feeling alright. Ooh yeah, yeah, ooh yeah, yeah, ooh yeah. We want permission to show Mr. Fun. We've got so much one to give him some. I say, let the music rule. Let the music rule tonight.
Come again now. Bang ba dam bing 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 bang. Bang ba dam bing 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 bang. Hiddy bim biddy biddy. All the week was everybody had a good time. All had a productive week, a safe week. All kinds of things happened this week we had to get into it. But I can't get into the news of the week before I tell all you what happened to me this week. This week, I had the most embarrassing week of my life. Like, people is asking, what is your most embarrassing moment, right? And I don't ever be able to come up with one because I can't remember having a whole lot of embarrassing moments. And like you remember what is your most embarrassing moment and where it was and where it has happened to you? Tell me in the comments, and I want to hear what's people's most embarrassing moment. Because I'm going to share my most embarrassing moment with you. It might be my only embarrassing moment. Complete embarrassment and humiliation and shame I went through this week in my old age, right? And typically, I try to keep my stories on this podcast about me, right? So as not to incriminate or embarrass or shame anybody else. But I had to tell you that the origin of this story is with Paula Stacy herself. My wife. That's where the story starts off, right? So I'm going to leave all the part of the story that have anything to do. You know what I mean? What they say? Names and so on are changed to protect the innocent or whatever it is. So, but I only have one wife. So it happened to me this week, right? In my big old age. Paula Stacy goes to somebody by the name of, let us say, Dr. Bissoon, who's a ORYN, right? Or changing names to protect the innocent, right? So he's a ORYN, a guy by the name of Dr. Bissoon, who have an office in Goodbrook, right? So, you know what I mean? I'm making sure everybody's safe. It's right opposite St. Brisbane's Church, right? Right by the park. Well, not the park, the Cock, right? So, Paula Stacy brought me many moons ago a little form, right? That was already filled out and stamped by Dr. Bissoon for me to go and do. I saw a test. What you want to call it? A test? Is that a test? I don't know if it's a test, or I don't know what it's called. It's a test, right? So it went to a lab where I have to go and do a test. So I may pay it no mind because, I all for the cause. I always running by a doctor. Anything wrong with me, I quick to run by a doctor. I might have fact nothing to be wrong with me and I just run by a doctor. So doctor and lab and them things is no problem for me. I can't take the needles, right? With the blood testing. I'm a little afraid of needles. I could get it done, but I started to look away. You know what I mean? I avert my eyes and I let them draw their blood and do what they had to do, right? But it makes me very anxious. So when I hear tests, I say, oh God, boy. I had to go and get joke again on it. But little did I know that it wasn't me getting joked by no lab technician. It was a test for me to go and joke myself. Now, I don't know how much Oli went through this before. I feeling like I completely alone. So Oli don't leave me on this island by myself, because, again, I pay a lot of attention to who is the average listener of this podcast. And all Oli is my age too. So if Oli is men and Oli went through this before, don't leave me in the dark and don't leave me sign up here by myself. But I was sent for a test to joke myself for, sperm count. I know how to say that in code, right? I run out of code words. So that is the test I had to go and do, right? So your boy, a man like me no worries with that, because once it's no needle getting involved and it's my needle and it's, you know what I mean, I had to joke. I good at that. I a man have plenty practice. You can't outbeat me. Listen, this life is about consistency. Anything that you do consistently, you're going to get great at. And I's a consistent joke myself kind of guy. So I tell myself, I say, no problem here. I say, no problem. I'm going to do. Now, granted, I had it thing there for a long time, and she's saying you're supposed to go and do this thing. You want to think I had to report back to Bissoon and tell him. So I say, you know what? No worries, don't worry yourself. I go in and get this thing done. I delaying this, a procrastination. I ain't get anything. I go in and see what it is. Now I have to tell you that in my mind, and again, don't leave me alone, because all your mind was saying the same thing, and I want to know what people experience with this. I want to know if I get a bad experience or if this is a standard experience. But in my mind, I have seen many times people do not really the sperm test part, but the donation. You see people doing that like a sperm donor. I wonder how much I could get. Anyway, maybe I shouldn't ask that. But the test for the sperm donor thing, or the situation you see in movies with sperm donor is they have a nice little counter, the woman hand you the thing, you go in a room, it's a plenty magazine in the room, and plenty VHS, and a nice little recliner, you know what I mean, a little lazy boy. They hand you some little wipes, and you know what I mean, the thing look like if they're simulating real life, you know what I mean, because most of us, like me, have a lot of experience, you know what I mean? We have a lot of experience with this thing. Consistency. We're consistent with this thing. So we're supposed to be fine. So in my mind, I'm thinking of that same experience that I saw on TV. And I had to tell you about what my experience was. And hopefully you'll tell me yours. So I see if I just get... I hope I'm an anomaly. The first observation I made was that when I called the place, I said, well, all right, I'm in town today. Let me call the place and pass in, because how long is it going to take? I'm a professional. I could make this last a minute, or I could make this last hour. You know what I mean? I've been doing this. So I said, all right, here what I go do. As I'm in town today and I have a couple minutes, I'll pass in there, bow, bus too short, and then head out of town before the traffic start, right? So my first experience was I call the lady. I say, ma'am, here was the scene. I have some short to bus in there. What's the situation? Let me in. I come in now. She say, yeah, no problem. The lab technician is here and all these kind of things. Well, when I hear lab technician, I say, what? You have a little help? I say, it is a little help out. There's a little hand again. But she said the lab technician here. But I just wanted to let you know that you're supposed to abstain 3 to 5 days before you bust the shot. And I was like, ma'am, that ship sail. We gotta come back next week. We gotta start afresh. I will start the clock from now. So that's the first part where I fail. I know what I mean? I say, all right, cool. Well, I'll come back next week. No worries. Next week, I take my time. I make sure the weekend everybody was breezy. Everything was smooth. I say, all right, good. I'm going in. And you know what I mean? I know how to tell Oli that according to, we was talking last week about FUL and releasing guns and things for families and whoever need protection, right? And one thing you'll find that if you have a 45, it's bust the same way every time. Or you have a shotgun, it's the same shot you're busting, but we gun, if you back it up a week, it's bow, 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 if you understand what I'm saying, right? So I say, I'm good to go. I'm going down in this thing today. We have a week off. We in the game. So, second observation I make, I call and I tell them, send me the directions to the place you want to WhatsApp the location. The location is on Murray Street. Murray Street in Port of Spain. So I tell myself, well, everything in my favor here. If bad comes out, you're sure you're getting help. You know what I mean? It's the middle of the day. But what is doing in the middle of the day? But go and help out a situation in a little donation place or a little testing place. So when I reach any place now, I realize part of my vision of how this is supposed to go done going out the window, because again, I thinking of a donation place where you donate sperm to make babies. I forget in a testing place, it's a lab, it's a normal lab where there's usually draw blood and them things. So when I gone up to the counter, first I had to ring a bell to go in. I don't know about you, but I never went in any blood testing place where it was so, like you cannot see inside the place. You have to ring a bell and somebody talking to you on an intercom. And the woman say, hi, how can we help you? I say, hi, my name is Corey Shepherd. She said, yes, Mr. Shepherd, what you came to do today? So me, I say, but on the public still on the road, this come like in a gallery on a pavement opposite the square and Murray. Why I have to say this? So I realized the nerves started kicking. I say, I called a few minutes ago and they told me to come in. I thought, what is this? What happened? So they opened the door and let me come in. I said, all right, with a little dignity, I could come in and say what I had to do. When I come in now, 2 women sitting down in the lobby. I didn't cater for this neither. I didn't cater for this mentally. I don't like it. One of them is a nice young looking woman. I say nice young, all my age and them kind of thing. And one is an older woman who are too respectful to say what I had to say. So one of them is a young woman who I would want to say any damn thing in front of. And the next one is one who I can't say certain things. I between a rock and a hard place. You know what I mean? So I'm going up to this thing and I say, yes, I came to do. Well, she asked me, she said, what you came to have done? I want to say, bitch. So I take out the envelope and I hand her because I went, come on, man. What happened to what's going on? So I hand her the envelope. She said, okay, no problem. You hand me your ID, this, that, and thing. Now, again, I come in shot busting mode, me not expecting her to fill out no form and thing. And the whole thing starting to get weird. And I starting to get in my head. And if you're a man, you don't know where the story going already, right? You don't know where the story, but I'm starting to get in my head, starting to get cerebral. You understand? I say, what is really this? I sit down a little while, I try not to make eye contact with people. I try to pick up a magazine that's looking as manly as possible. It's only a Vanity Fair. It's a no kind of manly magazine. I said, but something ain't right with this situation. But she take my information and she said, okay, that will be $250. I say, you want me to pay now? And I thinking to myself, but we really on Murray Street. It's a pay first system. So I, in my head even more now, I was like, these people taking the money up front. So nothing can go wrong now, because Murray Street business etiquette goes where if I take your money up front, any problems that you have sealing the deal is not on me. I have my money. This is not your problem. You have a half hour and I have your money. If after half hour you can't do what needs to be done, you have to pay again. So I say, but what is really what I find myself in here? Why I in this situation? Now, in my mind now, I starting to get vexed with Stacy in my heart. My blood starting to act up. I vexed with Stacy and I vexed with Dr. B soon. I'm upset. Like I'm talking about it now again, upset again. So I paid. I said, well, we have cash or something? I don't know, but they take links, so I pay. And I sit back down, and then a lady opened the back door now, where you would usually, in the reception area, you have a next door that's open for you to go in where the action is happening. Like in any doctor office or any lab, they open the door. She say, all right, cool. Now, this is what happened to me. They must used to like make up stories. But I want to take a leak, right? I was looking at the old people say, I want to pass a little water. So I say, you know what? Let me do that first because as a man, sometimes just mix up things, mix up anything as a clean sample, right? So when I walk in, she starts to hand me the container, right? No. The container a little big, and I thinking to myself, I trying to see if it have a marker on the container, like a line that is supposed to full pass. This is the first point I realize maybe we're going to have a little bit of a problem in this thing because let me put it this way. If you had to do a urine test, you might have struggled to fill that container where they give me. So I say, we're going to have a problem here because all these shots I talking about, busting shot and thing, I only have one in the chamber. I historically have one in the chamber. Me not no magazine. Me not about you, but I have one in the chamber. So I starting to get a little worried now. I get nervous. I get anxious. I was like, what is happening here? So I said, well, here, what before? I could use the washroom. You have a washroom? She said, sure. And she point me to the washroom, right? And this is what she tell me. She point me to the washroom, give me the container. This is the toilet, right? That toilet stall. And she give me the container and she say, okay, so when you finish, you'll put your sample, and she show me a little thing look like a bread box. I had to put my sample in. Boy, bye. Who you reaching? She show me the little bread box and tell me, well, guys, I had to put my sample in the thing. I say, but I thinking with the room with the magazines and the VHS and thing, I done put my mind in a little bit of a K Parker. I telling myself it's some vintage. I say it's some vintage you're bringing out on some VHS. You know, it's a toilet. So then put me in the toilet to do this thing and leave the sample. So I close back the toilet door. And let me tell you something, right? In Trinidad and Tobago, historically, when you're a man like your little kicks and you like your little old talk and you're a funny fella and think people is tell you you're a fool and you're stupid. You know, in other countries, people will tell you, boy, you're such a funny person. Why don't pursue a certain comedy? In Trinidad, nobody don't tell you that. They say, boy, you're a fool, boy, you're stupid. And I used to always wonder about why people like to call me a fool. And, you know what I mean? I'm making joke and think be appreciative of the little jokes. Why I had to say I was a fool and a stupid? But I want to tell you that when I close back that toilet door, I realize I was a fool. I was a fool in real life because as soon as I close back that door, I start to laugh. Boy, I try not to laugh for people to hear because all I studying is I had to tell this story. This is the greatest story ever told because I can't catch myself laughing. This is the funniest thing. I want to say the funniest, the most humiliating, the most indignifying thing that I am on Murray Street in a toilet trying to leave a sperm sample. And I want to use the word trying. I want to emphasize that word trying because, boy, I laughed till I nearly cried. And I had to get this thing done because at this moment, I also know that there's nothing in this world that Stacy, Dr. Bissoon, anybody who involved could ever do to get me to come back in this place, right? It's never going to happen. I'm not trying ever in life to see any of these people or this place again. I feeling most conscious of myself. I am nervous. I'm laughing because it's so funny. And now I'm in a little bit of a situation because as a man I come prepared, right? Me walk with no, what's the code word for lube? I ain't walk with none or whatever is the code word for lube, right? Me walk because I telling myself that I go get Jergens, I go get something in there. But no luck, them people are studying nothing like that. It's the toilet I know. So I say, but what the hell is this I really going on? How I come to this is why I'm trying to study at this point, right? But okay. We here and we getting this thing done because we ain't coming back ever in life under any circumstances whatsoever. So I decide, all right, let me get this thing a shot. My wife need me to do this. Dr. Bisoun said do this. So, I mean, it must be important. She telling me about it for a long time. I don't pay my money up front, so I don't lost that. And I decide to go in. But between the nerves, right? Between the nerves and the laughter. As men, I'm talking to men, right? Women only lock off now. Only come back in later on. As men, we will understand that nerves and laughter does not work well for worms. If you see what I'm saying. You understand? When it's worm mode, the nerves and the laughter don't really work very well for when you're in worm mode. And I in worm mode. This thing is, listen. What's the opposite of erection? I have a direction because this thing is smaller. I say, but what is going on? What is happening? I never seen nothing like this. So I say, all right, here what's going on, right? I gotta go to my favorites. I go on my phone now. And I'm trying to access the favorites. But to tell you the truth now, I don't know if to stand up in front of the toilet. I don't know if to sit down. I don't know if to pop a leg. I'm not sure what I'm supposed to do in this moment. And so I'm trying to figure out how to make this thing work. And I remember that I'm in a toilet stall. It have a next stall next door, you know. So I started to study. But even if this thing worked, the man next door, whoever come next, if anybody come in that toilet with him, I don't understand why this. Why am I in this situation in my life at 40-something? I thought I done with children. No, I don't know if the intention between Bisoun and Stacy is to trap me. I'm not sure. I just asked it. I'm not sure if it's an entrapment situation or people plan for me in a way that I don't know nothing about. I'm not exactly sure where I am in this life right now, but I'm in this toilet. And I'm trying to make the best of it. I'm trying to play along. I'm trying to be a supportive and cordial husband. I'm trying not to become a phone. I want to call Stacey and get ignorant because between laugh, nerves, anxiety, vexation, all those things don't augur well for worms. So I said, all right, let me go to the favorites. I take out my phone and I went to one of my favorite websites. I say I go look for one of my, you know, you have as man, it have videos you go to that's get the job done, right? I talking real. It has some videos you go to that's get the job done, but I also as man, right? It have some days where it is end up on page 65. And it is end up searching for all kind of thing that we would never admit to searching to nobody, right? And this is where I am now. But here was my problem. Remember, I'm standing up. Because say if I sit down, all I studying is if I sit down and I pop a foot on that little toilet paper roll holder thing, somebody go open that door and I go out myself. I want to get out of this life. That is the end. If that happen, I'm gone, right? I'm going home. So I say I will stand up, right, and make this happen. But I was 43. Me ain't do nothing standing up in about 35 years. You understand? I can't stand up. But where to picture this situation, right? The container big like this cup if you're watching on YouTube. So I have the container and I try to situate myself because I'm a phone and I try now to watch what I'm watching on my phone that is getting the job done, but nothing ain't getting no job done because the situation bad. And I hold in the cup now. And then when I hold the cup and I watch the thing, I say, but wait, who holding the worm? It's a bit too handful. So now I have to put my cup and my phone in my hand here now. And then I study, Corey, if your phone drop in this toilet. Listen, I started to laugh again because and so outside this thing, these people must hear because I try not to bust out a laugh in this place, boy. So I have my phone balance on my index finger, the cup balance on my little finger. The worm, that only one that guy fits in my hand. I'm trying to work this situation out now because then I started to study the size of this cup and what kind of sample I supposed to leave. So I can't let none waste. I had to shoot straight, which is a difficult thing to do at 43. But it's also a difficult thing to do standing up. So I in a quandary. Then I started to study. Corey boy, you're in here long. All this, I see time passing. You go to, and at one point I say, boy, let me come out in here. I don't like this situation. I getting mad now. Nothing ain't working. I tried my best. I balancing, worm in one hand, cup and phone in the next hand. I can't skip to the next page because I go drop my phone. So I don't work with what I have. I'm working with what I have there. I find some high grade local and I'm working with that. And then I say, boy, come out of here. But then I start to study now. What I going to say to these people when I come out here with no sample? If I come out here and that cup empty, I done feeling shame. That could be the most shameful thing I ever happened in my life. I say, nah, boy, Corey, you got to do something, you know. I say something had to happen. So I get focused. I get very, very, very focused. I zone in. And I say, boy, according to Sherwin Winchester, in the wise words of Sherwin Winchester, dead or alive, still we coming. I say, I ain't coming out of here with no sample, boy. I'm not doing that to myself. So I say, all right, let we go. We go, boy, we force it. We go in. And boy, listen, when we start to go now and I find the right balance and I find the right thing, worm is worm, man. Nothing had changed there. But I work in worm, you have to sweat, you have to crawl here today. And boy, this is how I know I'm a fool, right? It's taken everything in me to focus and concentrate because all I studied in my mind is I done embarrassed, I done feeling shame, I don't think this is going to work. And all I want to do is say in that toilet, I just want to bawl out. Oh God! Ah! I just want to bawl out once. Like, ah! Woo! I just want to get them 2-3 ball outs. Put that empty cup in that thing and walk out. And I started to laugh again. Listen, this is not working out, no, but let me tell you something. I get my focus down. Well, I want to say short boss, yeah, but boy, let me tell you something. When I watch that cup good, listen, the littlest amount of sample. I never seen nothing like this in my life. You got to take my word on this. This thing is a little bit of sample. I studying, but unless it's a swab they taking, they don't have enough sample here for you to check nothing. You know, this test going and fail. But I'm not going to tell nobody this. I'm not going to try to do this a second time. I want to come out in here. But by the time I decide that and I cover back that container, your boy is sweating. I start to realize my weight, like I really focus, but I sweating, my ball pot sweating, my back wet. And I say, boy, look at the embarrassing. Look at what you had to go through in your life. I come out of that place. I had to try to take the little toilet paper now and wipe up and mop up myself and think, I said, but really on Murray Street in real life? It's a whole bath. I had to just, you know what I mean? It's a whole bath quick. I said, but what is this I come to in life? I come up all the thing in the how they call it. And I walk in all this place now. Now, if you're anything like me, and you are, you're lightheaded, right? Small sample or not, the result is the same. I lightheaded, I walking out of this place now, I come out. Listen, lady say, okay, you're through? I want to say, girl, don't tell me what is about if you're through. I say, I'm true. What the hell you mean if I'm true? She say, I said, she say, yeah, I said, listen, I told that woman, my head light, my eye get chinky, I get small. And she, listen, I want to give them credit too because they were very, very professional. This situation was embarrassing and dignifying. I want to come out of the room and say, hey, I supposed to be doing this in the toilet or in our room? I'm not sure what exactly I'm supposed to be doing. But all I know is, it leave a little bit of sample, as small a sample as you could imagine is what I leave. And I come out in there. I say, boy, it's the most embarrassing situation I've ever been in my life. I don't know what is your most embarrassing situation. I don't know if you ever went through that before. Please tell me that is not the norm, like this just sitting in a toilet. Suppose I did pass out. I said, man, if I do anything standing up, suppose I drop down there, somebody would have come and finish collect this sample and wipe me off. And what is the situation? I hope that is not what people typically go through. Or they could at least give me a little phone holder, man. Let me adjust my phone so, hold the cup one side. You know what I mean? So you could do it. But boy, this thing was the worst. So I want to hear from people and what their experiences were, because I couldn't be alone in this situation. I mean, a dead sure is a fool now because I telling you, it take everything in me not to ball out inside that room. I tell you, I had the ball out down quasi. Let me see where it has happened. But we hear samples were given. Paula Stacy is happy. Dr. Bisoon is happy. But we also have some other things to confirm. Yes. Oh God.
Willie dead, Willie dead. Willie dead,
Really dead. Oh.
Willie dead, Willie dead. Willie dead, Willie dead, oh.
Willie fall down dead. He can't raise his head.
Willie fall down dead.
He can't fully contain her.
As they look at you, you used to threaten them. Any chance you get,
You used to flatten them.
now they talking for the spades. You went terrible again. I tell them you just,
Taking a rest.
but you lay down there now for over a month. Seem like the more rest you get is the more you want. Them girls say you're born, you're bearing, and it's just excuse they hearing. Show them you has they slap me in my chest.
So many good times we had.
Together,
We made it through good and bad.
together, wake up and don't be naive. I can't let you leave me.
To suffer.
If you ever try to close one of your eyes, it's the bottom we're dying together.
Willie dead, Willie dead. Willie dead, Willie dead, oh. Willie dead, Willie dead. Willie dead, Willie dead, oh. Willie fall down dead. He can't raise his head. Willie fall down dead.
Many times you made they leave their clothes and run, promising never more to deal with you under the sun. Yes, it used to be a pleasure to see you apply the pressure and make all them champions moan and groan. Just because you're taking a little time off.
They changed your name from Hardy Hard to Softy Soft.
Some of them girls who should know better, calling you a toothless tiger, saying, change your tone, the jungle's no longer your own. So many good times we had together. We made it through good and bad together. I'll give you any tonic, I'll even work black magic to give you more power. But if you think it's lie and close one of your eyes, it's the water we're dying together.
Willie dead, Willie dead. Willie dead, Willie dead, oh. Willie dead, Willie dead. Willie dead, Willie dead, oh. Willie fall down dead. He can't raise his head. Willie fall down dead.
As a country boy, I never went to town. My whole life destroyed if you should let me down. So if you're sick, I'll buy a drugstore. Some of the medicine must cure. Whatever is the matter with you, hey you. If you understanding me, well shake little bit. So long you ain't move, you're making me panic. The rumor the women spreading, they saying it's dead, you're dead in. Who used to applaud you, no balling? Who? So many good times we had together. We made it through good and bad together. I'll give you Blackstone to hunt, Spanish fly when you want. I wanna be crop sure. But if you mama guy and close one of your eyes, it's the water we're dying together. You use this to sway with so much energy. Women used to pay to enjoy your company. Oh well, I always expected one day you will be exhausted, even though you are strong like a boss, solid like a wall with heavy muscle chest, head shiny and bald and bubbling with zest. Now your whole body get wrinkled, flabby skin with no more muscle. What if you gain up the ghost, I killing you first? So many good times we had together. We made it through good and bad together. I know your neck wants a prop, but you can't keep it up any longer. But Willie boy, I'm begging you, make one more try. Brother, don't say goodbye, or you sleep both and we dying together.
Willie dead, Willie dead. Willie dead, Willie dead. Oh. Willie dead, Willie dead. Willie dead, Willie dead. Okay, so boy, Willie fall down dead. He can't raise his head. Hey, talking about ICE call and can't last long. ICE moves to clarify employee status after some go on follow. This is the same place that opened just week before the last. I can't believe it. Like ICE management. No, come on. This is the place with the ice skating rink in South, right? So if you wasn't following this, the man of the ice skating rink in South, the people, maybe it was a spoon kind of test because the ice skating rink starts off kind of a little too small for people enjoyment. You know what I mean? It wasn't very cool and small. It's a bad combination. But I was surprised to see that. I mean, I welcome that kind of entertainment to Trinidad and Tobago. I hope we have more things like that. I always feel like if we do more things like this, that people have an opportunity to experience different things, start to value life, value experiences. We could change the fortunes of the country, change its crime situation and things. So I was glad to see the little ice skating facility open. Even Movie Town. I remember the original plan for Movie Town was supposed to be the first ice skating rink in the Caribbean was supposed to be there, but clearly Movie Town worked their numbers right and decide that might be the best thing to open, because I'm a little surprised that after you just open, you already have to follow employees. I mean, these firms probably do business differently too. If they see any space where they're losing $1, they close it down. Because what they said was that it first came out that they were sending home employees or retrenching people. I mean, is it a retrenchment exercise if you now hire this staff 2 months ago or 3 months ago? You do have to work a year first before you're entitled to retrenchment benefits according to minimum wage act and all that kind of thing. I don't know. But it seems as though they're furloughing the employees. So it means furlough is a tricky thing because it means you're still under contract with the company more or less. So it's like it's a suspend your contract for a certain amount of time. I don't have to pay you for that time and you don't have to perform any of your duties for that time. I believe that here you could do it for as long as 3 months, and then you have to make a decision as to what you're going to do, whether you're going to bring them back on or retrench, if that's the right word. But the release from ICE explained, as such, the company made a difficult decision. Well, let me read the whole article. The management of ICE Caribbean, or ICE Caribbean Entertainment District, has moved to clarify a report on social media regarding its furlough of employees. I mean, the release on Saturday stated the organization communicated with staff members, indicating a new structure for the ice skating facility and snow playground. According to the company, it was due to change its operating hours Wednesday to Sunday from 1 to 9 p.m., which would utilize one shift instead of two shifts. So what they were doing was abandoning the late shift. They said they was only getting people coming early, so they abandoned the late shift. And they say, as such, the company made a difficult decision to temporarily furlough staff for a period of 3 months here, I guess. As a result of the new structure, during this meeting, employees were told to keep their uniforms as there's a possibility of being called back to work in the near future. Furloughed staff are free to enter the facility as guests, but not as uniformed employees. With regards to employee uniforms, the company, via its employee contract, agreed to pay 50% of the cost of uniforms, while staff members who signed the contract agreed to cover the cost of the uniform, paying the remaining 50%, which accounts for some payments of $1,200. But that was a little weird to me, to be honest, because, I mean, if you're bringing people into an environment that is cold, like, wouldn't the uniforms would be... I want to say that the uniforms might be classified as specific to the work environment and even PPE in some cases, you know what I mean? But I guess they have places that if you need steel-toe boots, they will tell you need a pair of steel-toe boots as part of your contract, right? But I do feel like from a business standpoint or employment standpoint, that could be a little tricky. Let me say this, right? We have employees who go into cold storage from time to time, right? As part of their routes, right? They might work the gas station, and the gas station have a beer. Some of these gas stations have a beer. I forget what they call it, a beer cave. I can't remember what they call it, but they have a thing that sell beers that is cold that you could go into to get your beers, right? And also some of them you have to go into the place to replenish, right? So you might enter through the back of the fridge or chiller and pack back through the back, right? You mightn't see them packing from the front. Those employees need what I would consider PPE. They need some kind of coat or jacket, something for their head, whatever it might be. And we have a few employees who work in dangerous environments that would need steel-toe boots as well. And to me, it's better I provide those things for them. Because the reality is that if I tell them they have to bring their own and they bring inferior versions of it, if they get damaged on the job, it's still my responsibility. But anyway, I mean, there's ICE. There's ICE. I had the thing figured out. And whatever sales projections all it do, it had to have fallen woefully short of what you all anticipated for you to be furloughing, let me assume, half your employees within the first month or two of operating. But I hope that it works. I hope that this little change allows them to be able to sustain the business. I understand that there's intention to expand the rink so that they could have more people and stuff. But if it's so small and you're not attracting people, it's between a rock and a hard place. Because if it's so small that it's not attracting people, then you have an issue. And if you make it bigger to try to attract more people, is a risk, because that is, I'm assuming, a much bigger cost to keep. If you double the size of it, a lot of your cost would increase. If it's not double, it's plenty. In some cases, you double it and you end up, the cost is more than double. And the question is, will that attract people? And you know, the thing about it is, upon launch, they might have shoot themselves in their foot a little bit, because the social media reaction to the facility was not great, because Trini, just like me, is fools. And people hesitate to make fun of the people's spot, you know what I mean? It didn't look good when it was this little ice skating rink. So that might cause some people to who might have been interested in it to stay away, or you know, is it worth driving down south and paying $80 for a 40-minute ride in a little rink like that, you know what I mean? But I wish them the best. I really do hope that the facility is able to bounce back, unlike me. And hopefully, whether it's through expansion or people become more interested in the small rink, or changing their prices, or running some specials, you know what I mean? Mother's Day coming up, you can get some mothers and they're trying to come out, and whatever it is you had to do. I don't like to see businesses shut down like that, you know, especially when you're now open. You never had a chance to recover any of your money at all. Like, I always remember Chuck E. Cheese is an example of a business. I admire what they were able to do, because they had, when they first opened, they were so oversubscribed that they had to tell people you could only come if you have children. You remember that? People were coming there without children. I don't know what they're going to do, but people was coming there without children, and the lines were so long that they had to turn some people away, which is not the greatest opening for a business. Or I remember Wendy's having to shut down the drive-thru. Louis Leasing was the mayor of Port of Spain at the time, and they had to shut down the drive-thru because it was causing too much traffic on the avenue. I feel like at launch, those are very, very difficult things to recover from. But those two businesses, I mean, Wendy's really didn't do so great in the end. Wendy's still have a branch here. Maybe they just have one in Tacarigua. The one in town closed down, the one in South closed down. If they do have branches, still they would have gotten through it. But Chuck E. Cheese take another big hit when COVID came and children couldn't come out, and they had to shut down most of the facility. But they seem to have figured out a way to stay open. And as I say, I mean, it's the worst advice you could ever give by anybody in business. You have to try and stay open. You have no opportunity if you're shut down, you know. So I wish any people at ICE the best. I'm hoping you all pull through. I'm sorry for the employees, because that's a rough thing. If you make me pay 50% of the cost of my uniforms, and then you furlough me within a month, I find run me back my uniforms money, and I understand that the salary that they are due now has not been paid yet, but the companies say that it has something to do with checks versus ACH and all that. I hope the people could at least get their last salary, because you had to assume if you furlough employees, they're going to start looking for jobs, and let the people go places who that they could, you know, make your money and see about your family and think. Nobody is staying furloughed and stay home for 3 months, right? But again, best wishes to them at ICE, and I hope the facility continues to grow and bounce back from this little slow period. All right, well, talking about that, the Forensic Center get a container boost. Now, I saw this on the papers, right? And the thing that's interesting about this thing is your boy Fitzgerald Hines, boy. Fitzgerald Hines is a good one, you know. Let me read, right? Ryan Bechu from The Guardian. The headline says, Forensic Center gets container boost. The Forensic Center has received a new 40-foot container furnished with secured fabricated cages and shells, barcode scanners, and a laptop computer. It's for the purpose of evidence storage. At a handover ceremony on Monday, the evidence storage container was commissioned by Minister of National Security Fitzgerald Hines in a collaboration with the High Commissioner of Canada to Trinidad and Tobago, His Excellency Arif Keshani, and Director of the UN Regional Center for Peace, Disarmament and Development in Latin America and the Caribbean. Soledad Urelia. I'm sure I have that wrong. Speaking at the event, Hines thanks UNLIREC, that's the UN place, for facilitating the donation of the 40-foot container. He also extended gratitude to His Excellency Keshani for the funding provided by the Government of Canada to construct the special purpose container facility. The minister emphasized his commitment to ongoing projects with both international partners and welcome future collaboration with a view to increasing safety for all in Trinidad and Tobago, which of course is not his job, but of course what part of his job is surely the photo op, right? So, like, take a minute, right? And go and check out the comments under this thing. I tell you, we's fools, as Trinidadians, because I wonder if once the UN man and Hines there, if you just couldn't avoid the photo op. Because at that point in time, all you had to take the photo and see what it is. But of course, the public wasn't pleased when you're talking about things to enhance the forensic center. I mean, not saying that we don't welcome the gift. It's just a celebration of it in light of everything else that happened in the country. It's strange sometimes, the things that they look at as progress, this was a great move and such a great gift and those types of things. I mean, maybe it is. I'm not saying it's not. I'm just saying that the photo op and the celebration that goes along with it seems a little bit like poor timing or not the greatest thing. And at the end of the day, it's a 40-foot container. It just doesn't pass the little smell test, for lack of a better term, right? And I just thought it's interesting that the man who say, security ain't really my scene, that ain't my scene, that's not my real responsibility, and them thing could take so much joy in posing in front of a 40-foot container donated to gather evidence. But I mean, it is what it is. So that is where we are on Hines. Hines is always an entertaining sort of guy, I mean, if you hear him talk about that after, he will talk about the greatest thing and how much inroads it make into the crime that is not his responsibility. On more topics about things that care bus. Schools evacuated and bombed and over threat and to bomb and kill. So they had a bomb scare in schools last week. This was weird. We haven't had bomb scares, at least not to my knowledge, in a long time. Bomb scares used to be a very common thing back in India, right? And just to give you an idea of the story, if you're not here, a message went out via email, nonetheless, saying explosives are planted on the territory of the building. I'm reading what the message is, right? We've always dreamed of revenge. We've always been an empty place. We will take revenge on you all. After the explosion, we will come to you with weapon. We will kill everyone. No one will be left alive. Trinidad will bleed. We'll corner you in your house. In the next world, only boiling awaits you. Soon, very soon, a sea of blood will be spilled. So that was the message that was sent to several schools across Trinidad and Tobago. Did they provide a list of schools? I believe these schools were around. Okay, good. Among the schools affected were Presentation College, San Fernando, and Chaguanas, St. Augustine Girls, Ashja, Bishop Centenary, and Signal Hill in Tobago. So as the article says here, this is by just the Express, no author quoted. The Education Ministry says there have been bomb threats at schools across Trinidad and Tobago. The threat came in an email to some schools. The content of the email was described as graphic and spoke of intent to do harm across the country. In all cases, pupils were evacuated. And police were informed along with Ministry of National Security and the fire services. So that was a little bit of a anomaly to the normal news cycle last week. I was just talking to Naldo from the App 868 podcast this week and talking about the fact that news is a cycle. Eventually, you're going to find yourself, if you do a podcast for long enough, talking about the same set of things over and over and over again because it just comes back around. But this one was a little bit different because I remember the times when I was working TSTT and during negotiations with the Communication Workers Union and the company, or management as they like to say, they used to have a lot of bomb threats, right? So you would go to work on a day, and I used to plan out things to do for the day because I know they go have some kind of bomb scare, and that bomb scare will basically be a couple hours off for me. Now, in true style of Massa, even though they have a bomb threat and they have a muster point that we go to, they used to keep us together at the muster point for a certain amount of time till they did what they said was check the building for bombs. I don't know if it's a bomb detection or a dog. You can't see the building when they're doing this, right? At least in the ones I've been through at. I went through bomb scares in Nelson Exchange in TSTT, which is a big building to clear. I went through bomb scares in Main Complex, Park Street, which is much smaller, several times. And you don't always see the building or what they're doing in the building, but after a couple hours, they just come back and tell you, all right, the place safe for work. We went and we check, it's no bomb and them kind of thing, go back to work. But there are also sometimes where they say, all right, only go ahead. It's too close to 4 o'clock. Everybody could go home, whatever. But they usually make it deliberate there for an hour or two. They like to feel, earning your money long time used to be about being present. If you're absent, people feel like they shouldn't pay you. And if you're in the face, they feel like you're there and you should pay. That nothing to do with productivity, because in Park Street in particular, I used to be a CSR. Literally, if people don't come in the door, I don't have much to do. I had to find out what you need to do with your phone, this, that. I may have work backed up because when the store real busy or the public office real busy, I might take orders from customers, write down the information or save it and do it after work when people leave, right? Just to make sure people come and go quick. But outside of that, really had nothing to do if you don't have customers coming in the door. So they used to have us there, a bunch of CSRs, stand up in Telephone Workers Credit Union car park, just basically chilling, waiting for an hour or two before the sweep is done or whatsoever it is, and you get to leave. So I used to kind of make sure I had things to do and have things planned around that, and that coming for sure. And I remember one time working in Park Street, I was working in the credit department. My job basically was when you apply for a phone, we used to have to do a credit check on you. Credit check meaning just TSTT, right? We had to make sure you're not owing TSTT in any way or the household not owing TSTT so you could get your phone. And I take care of what is the advance payments and the security deposit, and I contact you and tell you when the people when you should expect installation, when you could come in to pay your security deposit. That was the job. Nice little job. I mean, nothing too stressful or strenuous or anything like that. You go in, you complete, and you collect your little TSTT money when month end come. And I remember one day taking a call as I would usually do, and a woman come up on the phone and she said, there's an explosive device on one of your monitors. I was like, okay, let's go. So I reported to my manager, tell them we have a bomb threat. We evacuate the building. I get questioned for a long time from TSTT security as well as the firemen or the police. I can't remember who it was, but I got questioned about what exactly was said on the call, this, that. And I started getting ideas. I said, but wait, maybe I could make up my own bomb threat. I just felt like if all you're asking me all these questions, maybe these calls not recorded, and I could just basically say, here was the scene, I get a bomb threat. You know what I mean? When I had things to do when the day come. But I do also remember, I don't know if people remember the times when a few blasts went off in Port of Spain. I was also working on Park Street at that time, and they were in the little steel garbage cans. We used to have some metal garbage cans on the side of the road, kind of sealed. And maybe 3 or 4 times blasts went off in those cans. That is when I was starting to get frightened. You just play the fool and thing until things started happening serious, and then you're frightened like hell, right? And I remember being in gridlock traffic trying to get out to Port of Spain one of the days when the bomb went off. It might have made more sense for me. I used to have a co-worker I used to drop and pick up from work. Well, she used to ride with me home to work and back home. In Leslie Ann Bradshaw. And me and Leslie Ann sit down by Cipriani Boulevard. But it's by La Perouse Cemetery there. I was at one point I say, but next opportunity I get to move this car and I could park somewhere on Cipriani Boulevard. Better we just walk home, And it was that bad. So I was surprised to see bomb scares make a return this week. And of course, the political games start to play because that was the day UNC was talking about crime plan the weekend before. And then they say they're going to vote on no confidence against them. And then the same day, so Rowlers say, it's all who call the bomb scare and them kind of thing. And all it's trying to destabilize the place to make the security minister look bad. And the security minister doing a good job. And I ain't shuffling no cabinet. And the games basically start to play as they usually do. But it's unfortunate that schools become a part of the play because the reason I was talking about negotiations with TSTT or even the bombs that was going off in tongue is that in this country, things tend to get sticky. When I say sticky, I mean situations tend to repeat themselves pretty easily. So things that were not the norm seem to become the norm here very quickly. Like a trend, like a fad, like something to follow on social media. And the fact that I don't think I've ever seen bomb scares across schools like that. But after seeing this, sad to say, I expecting to see more. Because I can't imagine what it would be like as a parent to get a call like this and your child in that school. I would imagine that you, your driver, your wife, your husband, whoever you could get, you're going to get somebody to get that child immediately. It's also going to destabilize the way you approach dropping your children off and leaving them in school. We might get more people clamoring to say, listen, leave my child with the phone during the course of the day because I want to know what is happening. So this, schools in particular, outside of business places or just random places in town, is I want to say like a good way to cause chaos, or let me not say good, but a surefire way to cause chaos across cities throughout the country. Because if you see this east, west, north, and south, and Tobago that this done in, right? So unfortunately, I expect to see more of this thing. I hope and I trust, to be honest, that nothing will happen at a school or any kind of bomb. I mean, that's really more hope, eh? But boy, listen, the way things just go here, I remember when I see the first kidnapping in Trinidad, all of a sudden kidnapping become a trend. It was the same thing with bomb scares and negotiations. It used to happen to TST all the time, and then you find it started all across the public service. You hear more and more bomb scares called. And so if this is, I'm not getting into the political thing as to whether it's PNM or UNC or whoever doing it. What I'm just fearful of is the fact that it may become something that we see more of. So, what is the plan for all of us who have children in schools and so on? How do we deal with this? Because I don't care if it's 10. You might be desensitized to thing when you work in TSTT and a woman call and it's explosive device and you move and you have things to do when the day comes. But when it comes to mankind and the children, if I hear 10 bomb scares in Zachary School, I rush in the same way to get him out every single time. If it's me, I feel I could withstand the bomb. You know what I mean? A man like me. And after that experience on Murray Street there, I could do that blasted bomb right now. There's something that to explode. On to further news. I looking at all this crime thing, and in the midst of the crime, and UNC had a PNM and thing. The UNC had a UNC and PNM had a PNM. Right? I ain't think that would change in a hurry. As a matter of fact, I don't think that will ever change. Them fellas go continue to be themselves, and nothing will come out of that. That's gonna remain exactly the way it is. But in the midst of that, I see the UNC have a problem now. They say Earl Christopher that's the commissioner of police now, having tea party up in the commissioner's residence. Now I'll be honest with you, right? Like, I didn't know the commissioner have an official residence. Where this commissioner residence is? This is the place in the barracks. Like, the commissioner have a residence in the barracks itself. They have a big building in the barracks. I assume it's an administration building. Where the police commissioners live? Is it just me being uninformed, or this is news to anybody else? So the Guardian says, Earl said it's not my tea party. So the UNC was accusing them basically of having a little tete-a-tete in the... Tete-a-tete mean fete? Having a little fete in the official residence. So Commissioner of Police Earl Howard Christopher yesterday denied that she was the host of a tea party held at her official residence in St. James yesterday. She had been criticized by Sawa Bharat area minister MP Saddam Hussein, who told Parliament on Friday that it was inappropriate and insensitive to hold such an event given the crime situation in the country. I like these fellas. I love a politician. You see, why I feel I care become a politician is, it has certain things clearly after my experience last week. I can't do it with a straight face. I go laugh. If I say this out loud, like, you all should not keep fets while the crime situation, I go laugh because I know I keep in fet. And that will make me laugh, and I will sell out myself. Nobody will vote for me. But in a news release, Commissioner Christopher said the tea party being referred to was organized by the Trinidad and Tobago Association of Women Police to raise funds to support their attendance at the International Association of Women Training Conference in New Zealand. Good cause, man. Educate the women in the police force more. This fundraising event has been held regularly over the years, and traditionally Trinidad and Tobago Women Police will request and be granted the use of the official residence of the commissioner for hosting of the event. The permission is usually granted irrespective of the occupier or whether the residence is occupied at the time. And I like Christopher a lot too. I like this response. She measured when she talking about the response. I like this woman in the show, but she did a long time. The commissioner added that the hosting of the fundraiser did not adversely affect the ability of Trinidad and Tobago police to address the country's serious crime challenge. Listen, this is all talk. I guess a part of the strategy by this opposition and maybe any opposition is to keep them fellas busy. Attack at all costs. Anything they come up with, they sit down in a meeting, or these days ain't any matter meet to do it. You could put it in WhatsApp groups. They say, hey, let's see, she have thing on the prime minister's on the commissioner's residence, right? Who go talk about that? Saddam, you go talk about that, right? When you go raise it and thing. Let's she have to answer question about that. And hopefully she make a mistake. I mean, she made no mistake when she answered. She put this issue to bed, I'm assuming. But if you could answer flustered, you could if you're rollers, you could get vexed, like Gary Griffith saying, hey, let me come together and help the crime plan. Rolly say, thanks, but no thanks. Rolly's a man. He's not the butteriest guy when it comes to responding to things. He's not trying to be smooth. He putting you in your place and shutting you up. So if you catch them doing that, you could then play on the fact that they're ignorant and this and that, and they keep the story going for as long as possible, which achieves the benefit of casting aspersions against the party in power, but also keeping your name in the media, because by now, with all the issues that Saddam Hussein raised, he's raising his own personal profile because everybody knows who Saddam Hussein. But what I want to say that is none of this is surprising. You tend to find that this is the cycle that we go through and the constant round and round of these things. But what really stood out and would have been a little surprising is Ola Christopher looking good. Ola easy. I want you to go to the Guardian. Just look for Ola, not my Tea Party, right? Because when you watch these women in the police uniform and these kind of things, I don't really find, that would not help me much in a situation like I was in last week. But I could tell you is that the only problems I had last week, if I just opened the Guardian, I could have solved plenty problems. I could have solved, I'll leave a little bigger. But Ola looking good. Ola looking good. I wonder how Ola Christopher is. You could find that out. Let me see if I could find that out. Ola Christopher age. I want to be very, very respectful here. Ola Christopher here, what is 59 years old? And will be 60 soon. Happy birthday, Ola. Ola is 60 on the 15th. I feel God to dedicate something to Ola. Ola looking damn good. According to the old people, she look damn good at 60 years old. And I'm watching the woman in red, modeling in a tea party. When last you went to a tea party? You ever went tea party? I used to go tea party with my grandmother a long time now. Them tea party boring. Salute to Denise Laura. Me and Denise Laura used to go a bunch of tea party with my grandmother and my cousin. We used to go a bunch of tea party, and we only looking forward to eat out the place. And wherever they bring to eat, wherever they bring to drink, we partake. But the tea party boring. You had to dress up in some hot sets of clothes. The place hot. All the performances, they're boring. They come in to sing us an old dreary dead song. So every tea party I went to, of course, it has some tea, some coffee, some juice, and some sandwich and all these kind of things. Nothing great, but as a child, you're looking forward to all them sort of little pastry and thing. But let me tell you something. Every single tea party you go to, you're going to find a recurring theme. Somebody going to come and sing a boring song. Somebody go do a boring dance. Somebody had to come and model a set of boring clothes, and they walk up and down and they model. And some people who never model in their life walking up and down and try. That's their moment. As fellas, when we go and play World Cup, when we go and sweat, we try to act like if it's World Cup football when we sweating. So the moment is walk when they're modeling. Them think it's Elsa clench all of a sudden. But I would like to just acknowledge the woman who in the red in the same thing in the Guardian. The woman start back listening. Me and my wife listening, but I wonder if she a police. I wonder if if it's police thing. This had to be a police. Whoa! I should have just opened the Guardian last week. With all due respect to everybody, but salute to Christopher, man. You keep your tea party and think no study nobody. You know what I mean? Let people do what they have to do. I have a few more things to get through here. They have some news that I see during the course of this week. And while again, through let me talk about home thing one time too. I want to say salute. I have a little side. Now, I feel very lucky and blessed, right, to be living in a little community where I could literally walk out my gate and have a park next door where I could sweat 2-3 times a week. I could get my little football. I mean, you know, remember I bust my Achilles on that same ground and all them things, and I started back playing football recently. So I've taken it a lot easier than I was before to make sure that I ain't putting myself at risk. But these boys and them are a little ambitious for a bunch of old men who are leaving small samples like myself. Let me put it like that, right? All these old men and them is small samples at this point in time. The average age of each side is about 65. But them fellas pull themselves together as big goal, small, a big goal, what you call it, fat match side. And to tell you the honest truth, right? I tell myself I'd done with big goal football many, many years ago. When I used to play with BG side, that was them days where it was before Shell. I used to sweat with BG and them on a regular basis. And BG used to play little fat match games. I remember going out there at time, and I like to play up front. As a man want to strike, I want to score. Football ain't nothing to me if I'm not scoring. But whatever the situation was on that day, we had more people who could strike and maybe actually run and breathe after they make a run and so on. So they let me play a last stopper, right? When I first started playing football in primary school, I used to play defense, right? So I said, all right, I mean, I understand it. I understand the position and think I can't to tackle again, but I played. And we were playing against a team called Marion House. If you know the name Marion House, you would know that Marion House is a school for, I want to say, underprivileged boys. I hope I have it right in terms of what's the purpose of Marion House. Home for young men is what they listed as part of Living Waters community, right? The key word there is young, right? Meaning that these boys leave in big samples. And when them stand up for too long and leave sample, they don't get dizzy and fall down and they're sweating like me and you. But I gonna play last stopper against Marion House. And first stopper, I should say. And I have a last stopper behind me who is telling me when we have the ball in attack, I must mash half line. Now, this is a man who knows about football. Let's salute my boy Lockhart. Lockhart no football. That's a big onion bruiser. But trying to say, I say, Lucky, because he older than me and slower than me. And that hard to accomplish. I'm trying to say, Lucky, when them youth men get the ball and I mashing half line, what is the plan? How we getting back? You have a plan for how we getting back? Because I know I can't get back. And I know me making the effort to get back, even if I could, because that's me. So I don't know what is the situation. Let me tell you something. Them little boys from Marion House fast. It's 19 and 20 years old we playing against. They say the home for young men. You know what I mean? And it's Living Waters. So these boys pray and ask God for help on top of their youth before they come out and play. And I'm mashing half line. As them men lost the ball up front, all I see is pass. Bap, 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 bap. And I sprinting all out to try to get back to defend this ball. And I remember a man reaching down to he reached down to the corner flag at lightning speed. And I take off at the speed of lava. Hot lava with mud mixing. I take it. And I sprint all the way down. When that man crossed that ball, I just happened to get ahead to that ball. And when I head that ball out, I never, just where the ball went, it was on QRC grounds. The ball went in the car park towards QRC building. And I head straight for that ball. I throw back that ball and I say, man, for me. I barely get them words out. Man, for me. This is like in the first or second play of the game. You know? So at that moment, I realized I'm not playing no more big goal football. I'm not doing it. I went back out and I play hockey post football in the oval with BG side again. I enjoy that to an extent. But I can't make no whole game neither. I'm a small goal champion. I'm not just a small goal champion. I'm a find me champion. I'm not doing no sort of running. Find me. You know my little zone up front. Find me. Give me the ball. Let me work. So I don't tell myself with my little side here at home, not playing no big goal football. It ain't happening. So I see the numbers coming in the week and it look like they had enough people and enough flying subs and everything. And it's men who could play. The men in the area, men playing football. So I walk out it. And you know, funny enough, I say I wasn't playing, but I just here because I want to go out there and score so I could talk about it forever and ever like it's my World Cup. But the morning I get up, I just stand up and my good foot, not one of the Achilles or bust on the next foot, all of a sudden my Achilles starts to hurt me. I can't even step up on my toe. So I say, boy, this is a good sign. Let me go out there and watch that game. But I want to take a minute to congratulate them fellas because they win the game 3-1 against the regulars. Salute my boy Marquise. My guys Sherwin and McCasey was scoring 3 goals, and McCasey scored beauty, you know what I mean? And I want to put that on me because McCasey was really liming by me the night before drinking. We drank copious amounts of rum, and I gave him some advice as to what it takes to be a great striker. And the man buried it, the man scored. So salute to them. I just want to take a minute to talk about that real quick. But on to some better news that I see this week. Especially against the backdrop of what happened with ICE, right? And what we've been talking about as a running theme for the last few episodes in terms of bettering our chances in the country, diversification, moving away from oil and gas, finding ways to earn foreign exchange. I was encouraged by some of the articles I saw this week where in the Newsday by Narissa Fraser, the headline read $8 million UWI chocolate factory to be opened by January. Now, before I get into this, right, all you know as a private sector guy, right, I'm always a little worried when institutions that are publicly funded are doing these things, but at least we're getting it off the ground, right? So UWI St. Augustine has further invested in the local cocoa industry as the construction of the UWI chocolate couverture factory is underway. Pro Vice Chancellor and Campus Principal Professor Rosemary Bell Antwine said UWI is now one step closer to fulfilling a dream that will further enhance national development. The factory is being built at the Business Innovation Center of the university's Cocoa Research Center as its field station in Mount Hope. On Monday, officials laid a foundation block at the site. Okay. Antwine said the factory will be a tangible mark of UWI's commitment and service to TNT and the rest of the Caribbean, calling it a flagship project. She says it represents the best of the university, of which she's very proud. She also said it will generate revenue and speak to the bigger issues of our time, such as food security, the environment, and the green agenda. Another benefit which she said is overlooked is the fact that it will challenge the unequal trade structures between the global south and the north. Maybe one day we will get into that, right? Today ain't gonna be that day. It's not the raw product that we're selling anymore, we are upscaling. Now, this is something that is this little statement that she said a little in passing is a very, very important statement in our national development, right? She says it is not the raw product anymore, we are upscaling. It is one of the things that typically, like Lloyd Best spoke a lot about it, where underdeveloped countries or third world countries, or what they call it now developing, tend to sell their assets or lease their assets as raw material. So what he called it the metropole and the hinterland, right? I think I spoke about this recently, where he say there's always a metropolis or somebody who is big and in control, and a hinterland, the small underdeveloped countries, and it works like a network. So what they do is they extract and take all your resources, they put value added to the same resources and sell it back to you, right? Or sell it for their benefit and profit. I'll use Guyana as an example, right? Guyana for a long time has had a thriving lumber industry, as well as bauxite, diamonds, gold. They have a lot of mining and a lot of forest. What is it called? Foresting? Wooden. They have wooden, unlike me. So they are basically taking the lumber and selling it raw, and selling it to people like Ashley Furniture, who make furniture and then sell it to us at a premium. The issue is that when you're dealing with raw materials, you tend to find that you are what you call a price taker in economics, right? You don't have control over the global price of the raw material. So when you say you're selling teak, the market for teak is defined. What they sell teak by the pound, maybe I should have prepared for this before I talk about it. They sell oil by the barrel, right, as a raw material. Or they sell natural gas by the cubed milliliter, whatever it is. And the world market determines what is the price for a cubic square, whatever, of natural gas, a barrel of oil, or a length of lumber. If you have a length of lumber that is teak, it's standardized. It is globally standardized. There may be different grades of teak, just like how oil have Western Texas, the WTI, I believe is the name of it, versus Brent crude oil. Teak go have a grade. So some international body is going to grade the teak that you have and say, well, that grade 5 teak and a length of teak is about $2,500. Standard pricing. The issue with being a price taker or being operating in a market where the prices are standard, where no one firm or no one country can directly change the price, is that when the men says $2,500 for a length of teak, there's nothing you could do to move that 2,500. So the only thing you could control is your cost, right? So if you could make a length of teak for 1,500, you could make $1,000 on a thing and you're making some money, right? There's about what, 66% profit. The problem is this. If for some reason in your country, you have some factor that causes your cost to go up, let me say it rise to $2,200, you could still only sell the tick for 2,500. You're only making 300 a length now. So it's hard for you to predict. You could only control your cost. Tell me something. If now you could only make the length of teak for 4,000, where you feel go happen? You could be selling the teak for 2,500 and it costing you 4,000 a length. One out of two things go happen. And in this country or in many developed countries, the both of the two things happen. Number one, you shut down and you get out of the industry, which any private sector business will do. Well, let's see what ICE do. I say, man is skating, go home. I ain't paying all your salary again. I'm not even paying you for where you work already. You understand? The private sector can't play these games. If I invest in something and it don't work, I want to be out of that as fast as possible, right? Or the second option, other than shut down, which we do a lot of as developing countries, is subsidize. So what the government may come in and do is say, here we're going on lumbermen. Continue to operate the lumber industry because we don't want nobody lost their job. We don't want to take the ways. People think legacy and they think Eric Williams and we think Trinidad a big one. They think the culture and they're going to make up a whole set of different things. Real issues, right? Don't they make up real issues because they act like if when people go home they just die. Man is go home just like the people in ICE and find other work and repurpose themselves and they're under a little pressure for a while, but they're going to find other skills and find other things to do, right? Or we also act like if we shut down Teak, the 1,000 people who in Teak, they would just pick up guns and start to shoot up people and thief. I don't know how it's worked that way either. But whatever the justification might be, if you want me to add my spin on it, part of the justification is the election. Because if I have an industry, let me say Teak, have 300,000 people working in Teak in Trinidad. You can't shut down that, 300. But if you have that level of voting people there, you will lose the election if you shut that down. People don't care. That is the best thing for the long term of the country and so on. So what will happen is I'm making Teak for 4,000 a length. I'm selling it for 2,500. I'm taking a $1,500 loss on every length of Teak I sell. And the government will come and give them back 1,500. So don't worry, sir. I go pay that 15. You keep selling your Teak on the international market. And then we go on our knees, like the children from Marian House, and we pray and we ask God to please let Russia invade Ukraine so that the price of Teak could go up to 5,000 so we could make some kind of profit at some point in time. When they invade, we say, oh, Jesus Christ, don't let them leave at all. Stay. Keep a war going. And that is what we've been doing with oil and gas for a long time. Now, oil and gas was one of the profitable ones, right? We don't manage that ourselves, right? Like we not pretend like if Petrotrin or Heritage or what's the name? How much different name they have? Paria. Them thing managed by British Gas, British Petroleum, British Helping People. What BHP stand for? I don't know what it stands for. But it is largely managed by multinational firms who operate in Trinidad and Tobago. So them men understand what it is to operate under profit. And if you go back to the first big recession we had, running into the 80s when most of us born, the small samplers born, the reality is that we living in a time where the oil price dropped below our ability to produce. So our production price. So let me say the oil price per barrel was $10 a barrel. We was producing for $15 a barrel. And Amoko and these people say, don't take out our next barrel. That's what the private sector is do. They say left it. Left the factories. Pay off the people the severance, get out. How are you going to take barrel of oil? It cost me $15 to get a barrel of oil and I'm selling it for 10. How that it could never make business sense. But in the public sector, we tend to find reasons to continue either doing these things for a long time and then shut it down. If you want an example of it, go and Google Gaisuco in Guyana, where the sugar factory was just like the tea guy talking about, where it was employing a large group of people, probably controlling several voting blocks, and they refused to shut down Gaisuco. Gaisuco is Guyana's sugar company, right? They refused to, if I'm not mistaken, is still operating. And for a long time in this region, we have been producing sugarcane at a cost of production that is actually higher than the world is willing to pay for the said sugarcane. Hence the reason we closed down 1975, currently 1975 Limited. It wasn't making sense. Now, this was what Lloyd Best and them was talking about it, because this is a severe disadvantage. Because a small country like us, when it comes to agriculture, which is such an important part of the discussion around global poverty, you had to be able to feed yourself. You know, not being able to sustain your own food is a big risk for global poverty, right? But one of the issues that we face is just size. It's what we call critical mass. You don't have enough people. You don't have enough land. So in economy, remember they used to teach you land, labor, capital, and enterprise. They used to call that the factors of production. To produce something, you need some combination of land, labor, some kind of capital investment, be it money or machinery or whatever. And the last one being enterprise. Enterprise being somebody had to get up and make something out of nothing, right? You need some kind of entrepreneurship or entrepreneurial spirit to make it happen, right? And that's the factors of production. So if you limited in your land, limited in your labor, limited in your capital, even if you have infinite enterprise, which are harder to measure, it's going to be hard for you to scale up like some of the much bigger countries can do. So this was one of Lloyd's best difficulties. So going back to the cocoa, right? What I like about the fact that we invested in cocoa is that the institutions seem to be making an investment where institutions should make investments in developing the business towards moving away from selling the raw product. Because if you're selling raw cocoa, unlike me, if you're selling raw cocoa, the reality is that you have a global price for cocoa, and then all you could manage is your cost of production. Let us assume we make a brand that is as strong as Cadbury. So globally, everybody a lot of people use whichever brand you want, right? Cadbury, Lindt, Ferrero Rocher, whichever one you like, right? Toblerone. Assume that we use our cocoa to make those things. And I'm talking about we own it, right? I start a business and I make Toblerone, and now the world loves Toblerone. It's in every airport, everywhere in the world. All the groceries sell it. I'm on top of the game, right? If for any reason my cost of production goes up, let's say whatever happened with cocoa, we had a shortage, this, that, my cost of production goes up. I have a chance, and probably a very good chance if I have a strong brand, to pass that increase in cost on to the consumer by raising the price. Because the people love the thing so much that even if I raise the price marginally, they will continue to buy it. We've seen it here many times. We've seen the cost of production of doubles go up. People complain a little bit, but they buy doubles. The cost of KFC go up. Or KFC's cost go up, Prestige Holdings that is, and we fuss a little bit and think, they put $20 special and they put a little less fries and a little less thing, and we still buy it. So we continue to buy from the best brands and the brands that we love the most, even though their prices tend to trend upward. I'll give you an example, right? When I was in school, to buy the hottest shoes might have cost you $1,500. Like you buy a Jordan. I remember getting Jordans for $1,200 and $1,500 TT back in the day. The hottest shoes these youths wearing now is $8,000. 10 grand. When them wearing Margielas and Prada, and these youths spending a lot. So for the best brands, right? Even though their price starts going up, because people love the brand, people find ways to justify it. Apple, Nike, all these things, people will pay it. So I like the direction they're going here in UWI, because if I can help my raw material manufacturers, that's cocoa farmers, or even my entrepreneurs, that's Marshall Montano and these types of people, whoever else involved in that business, right? If I can help them with manufacturing, getting the latest technology, the latest packaging, the best branding, whatever areas I could help them, like what Career and them was supposed to be doing, right? True, I can't remember the name of their projects, idea to innovation and those things. If I could do more of that, then I'm giving more people a better chance to add value to the raw material. Because if I take the raw material, I add value, I can charge people for that added value, get people used to my brand. And the higher up you are on that chain of added value is the more margin you can charge for your product. I hope something I said makes sense. I hope so. I don't like when these things turn into a lecture or class on these things, but it was. I was glad to see that this move being made. I want to salute the Cocoa Board, the Cocoa Development Company, UWI, everybody who involved in this move, the government, wherever arm it coming from, because these are the things that we need to do more of to invest in the infrastructure behind building industries. Not to go and make the cocoa yourself necessarily, but if you invest in the infrastructure and we have a plan that we say, okay, in the next 10 years, we want to be this in the cocoa industry globally. And because we're small and we don't have the capacity to become the largest producer in the world of cocoa and them kind of things, unless we're planning to go and take somebody else's land, labor, and capital to do that, which is not impossible. But if we're not doing that, what we could certainly do is say, here, what's going on? We're going to become a niche provider of the most premium cocoa or chocolate experience in the world. So anybody who making the premium cup of hot chocolate in France, or the premium chocolate bar, or the premium eclair or dessert, we're going to make sure that we have a brand of chocolate that they buy consistently. And Angostura Bitters has done that well globally, right? So salute to everybody involved in this. I was glad to see that. Along the very same lines, especially where the discussion around Forex is concerned and doing this, I saw another article that says Charlotteville seeds oyster industry. Now, of course, a part of me seeing this is because I intend to increase my intake of oysters considerably. No particular reason, but I intend to consume a lot of oysters in the near future, right? So the recently established Charlotteville Oyster Growing Project in Tobago is ready to reap delicious rewards on marine conservation in Trinidad and Tobago. Aljosha Watki, I definitely pronounced wrong, sorry, CEO of the Environmental Research Institute of Charlotteville, is spearheading the project. Eric, that's the name of it, Environmental Institute of Charlotteville. Eric focuses on marine conservation in Trinidad and Tobago. Watki told Business Guardian, I should have skipped this first paragraph. Watki told Sunday Business Guardian that some 15,000 baby oysters that were sourced from the US found a home in Charlotteville waters. He described the town on Tobago's northeast coast as a superior site to cultivate oysters, which have grown for about 6 months. Now they are ready to be harvested and will go for trials. Oysters make children? Is it that we? I'm not sure. How does it work? Because I would want to think that if you put 15,000 babies there and they get big, I expecting millions of oyster babies in the sea, you know what I mean? So now they are ready to be harvested and will go for trials. The first batch of oysters will go to people to see how they taste. I want that. How I could get in on this? I can't taste test this thing. Is like looking for help, you know? Somebody tell me eat the white and watermelon. But they're looking for help. Then we will supply Tobago clients and maybe one or two selected Trinidad clients. Why is it behave like this, Eric? Why is always this separation? Then we'll supply one or two selected clients whose restaurants have declared an interest to try them out. Energy giant BPTT was lauded for its financial contribution, which made the project possible. The company confirmed the investment at about $400,000. Watke, a German national, not surprised, who's based in Germany and Tobago, has done extensive work in both Trinidad and Tobago since '92. He noted that the oyster farm was implemented with the assistance of Tobago's fisher folk and the Department of Fisheries and Marine Resources of the THE. In sharing further details, Watke said the project was designed to test the viability of oyster sustainability. All right, cool. So we have our oyster summit. I'm trying to see here if there's anywhere in the article that says that at some point this will be like self-sustaining, like meaning that if you bring in male and female oysters, if they're gonna make oyster babies. Okay, he said we told people there are places to register the oysters for the restaurants. Demand is very high, more so in Trinidad than Tobago, but we definitely cannot even supply the demand at the moment. That's a good sign. So then I'm not alone. Then it's not me only submitting an empty cup. If the demand high, it's every empty cuppers. To meet the request, he said the next step will be to increase production about 10 times, which he hopes will begin around July, August this year. We want to go to 100,000 oysters. We're willing to take the risk. We've now tried this and we're happy. One oyster can sell for around $10. I would assume that means $10 to the restaurants. That would probably mean a lot more to us. You see what I mean about added value? There's a good other example. He's saying he could sell an oyster to the restaurant at $10. What do you expect to pay for oysters when you go to a restaurant? You ever thought about like what do you think will be the final price if they get a tray with about 20 oysters? And I was talking about the big nice oysters and not the Savannah River oysters, right? The big nice oysters. So that's what I mean when I say added value, because that $10 you could charge a significant margin on that in a restaurant. In the right restaurant, it's hundreds of percentage points you pay against that $10. So we there, and this happening. So I see it as another way for us to continue to earn, for us to maybe even build this as an industry where we could earn foreign exchange. Because if we can convince the world that Trinidad and Tobago, or let me just say Trinidad and Tobago oysters have some enormous cup filling ability, and it's turned worm into stone. You understand? If we could convince the world of this, then you have something that you could export. And to be honest with you, I don't feel like it's very hard to convince the world of this, because people want to fill cups. Nobody want to go through what I went through, no way, you know what I mean? People want to bow, bow, bow. There's a global demand for that bong to be high. So if there's any way that you tell people, nobody in care where you import them oysters from, it's hard to measure the success of some of these things, because, I mean, what are you using to measure it? You know what I mean? By the time it's time to measure, you tired like hell. You don't drop us sometime before you finish. So it will be a good idea for us to build this into our industry that we can then. Did I ever tell you a story about 10K in rum here? Where the men tell a story about getting sugar from Trinidad long after Carney had closed down. And that was a brand that was sold by LVMH. Same people who making Louis Vuitton, Moet Hennessy, and several other luxury brands. And the man was doing a luxury rum, talking about again thing from first virgin cane sugar and all these things that had no real meaning and no real truth behind it either. And they were successful, at least for a time. So if you could build this story and build the branding right and get something that says Charlotteville, Tobago, you know what I mean? You show all these Tobagonians and these Germans coming so far to spend time with, you know what I mean? Make that all that part of the experience and part of the art, and tell them, if you eat oysters like this in Germany, you could keep your woman home. You know what I mean? Good initiative. I like it a lot. And also, I just want to take a quick minute to salute Daniel Loveless. I like stories like these. I like to see when people get out of the mud, because Daniel Loveless, if you don't know, now you know. Daniel Loveless is a dude from What You Know TT, right? And I just came across his Instagram this week and saw that he is in Spain. And I noticed that he goes all over the world doing this, because he was in Jamaica recently and showing these What You Know things from Jamaica, asking people the most rudimentary questions. I don't know where he's finding these people, and I don't know how much people he had to interview to get some of these ridiculous things coming out where people can't spell their own name, they can't spell Jamaica. And, what I noticed in the comments while he was in Jamaica is that his audience is not only local. Because there were a lot of Jamaicans responding in the audience and basically saying, boy, send this man back to Trinidad, Jamaican embarrassing we this. And in a fun way, you know what I mean? Not the typical, we don't like Trini and Trini shouldn't come here and do this. In a nice, fun way, people was actually enjoying the responses and laughing at their own people and saying, Daniel looking for people to think, why you don't show some good Jamaicans? And all good fun. And he have a sort of a easy personality to laugh. I met him once when we were doing a project for Movie Town. That is work-wise. They were doing a game show. They had done I think they do this every year. Like, they celebrate the anniversary with a lot of giveaways. And this was a big anniversary, like 10 or 20 years or 30 year anniversary. And they were doing a car giveaway. So they had, we had partnered with them to do a game show for them as the final thing. They had 4 finalists. And the person who won the game show won a car, a Kia car, if I'm not mistaken. And Daniel was the host. And it was great working with him. Energetically, I mean, that man had real energy. I can't keep up. But he did a great job. The dude won the car and everything. And that was in his early days. He was already popular enough to be selected by Movie Town to host the event. And known enough by the people who came to see the final as well. But he's somebody who I see on Facebook at first. And I remember in the early days, people was real upset, the woke people. Oh, I don't like people embarrassing people and looking down upon people who can't spell. And all the people where all the bomb scares was, they were talking about this like, if it's like, dude, the man just, he doing something it entertaining. And you know, the funny thing is, there was another girl who used to do this at Scotch parties. And people used to laugh everything and share everything she do, and they're telling this youth man like he thing and he embarrassing people and stuff. And I come home and meet Stacey and Zachary, they watch. I didn't even know he had a YouTube page. I just thought it was things for Instagram, and they were watching like the full videos of his interviews, because the ones on Instagram Sound like a real old man now. But it's just really the highlights of the interviews that were really, really funny. He have a lot of them he does where people get all the answers right. He give away a lot of things. A lot happens on his YouTube page, and he keeps it light, he keep it fun, he keep it positive and them kind of things, you know? And I just remember like when you now start off something, how people could be critical of it. But then eventually, if you keep going, and it's the same thing I say about the consistency, you know, if you keep going and you keep at it and them kind of things, it's good. You don't know what this thing could grow into, because not in my wildest dream. I don't know for him. I would think that he in countries all over the world. And I noticed this week, like I said, he was in Spain and doing a European tour. So he driving around, he show you where he gets stick, he can't move the car, he interviewing people. I don't know how he know. Well, I guess he had to walk around and figure out people who could talk English first and then get him to do the interview. Listen, that is a hard job. It might seem like foolishness, it might seem easy, but that ain't gonna be easy. You go in a country where English is not the first language. You're doing all the interviews in English. You have to identify people who talk in English, identify people who are willing to come on camera. If they had to sign a release, you might even do interviews where people say, nah, I don't want it released, and you can't put it up or anything like that. And he making it entertaining enough, not just in the question and answer, but entertaining to see his journey across Europe. And I saw him saying that he drive a couple hours from, I think the name of the place is, I'm gonna get this wrong, Salau in Spain, driving from Salau to Barcelona, and like he underestimate or overestimate the drive or whatever it is. But with moral of the story is he gets stuck and he had nowhere to stay, no hotel room or nothing. And you see him and his girlfriend, who assuming is his camera person, pack up all the things in the bag, tie up their hair. He pay for a car park. He say he pay a small money, he gone in a car park where it's safe enough. He park the car and they rock back and they sleep right there. And I just admire things like this, because listen, getting it out of the mud is not easy. Starting any kind of venture and getting it somewhere, it ain't no easy thing. I like to talk to people who have run businesses. I have a partner by the name of Schofield. Salute my guy Schofield. He say he coming on the podcast anytime, so he'll be here to talk about his own journey. And without saying too much about what he was going through last week, he called me last week Monday. Let me tell you something. The problem he had as an entrepreneur last week Monday, and remember that mountain was coming last week, yeah? That's thing for you to can't sleep, you can't eat, you're pulling out all your hair. That is real stress and real frustration. So I really like to see people on Instagram who talk a lot about entrepreneurship and this and that. And I just wonder, like, number one, when you get any time to do all that, if you're building something, how you get so much time to tell people? And I like to hear people talk about how great it is, and you have so much free time, and you own the world, and all this kind of thing, and you form a LLC, and I love to hear that kind of talk, because what I'm really interested in hearing people talk about is when the stress is so much that you wake up in the morning and you can't come out of your bed to make a next step because it's so heavy. And you get up and you make that next step and you make it through that day or that week or that month or that year when business get hard. I want to hear people talk about when you going in a meeting knowing that if that deal in seal, you can't pay your rent, you can't pay your mortgage, you can't eat next month, you're struggling. And you had to go in that meeting and act like if you could do this thing and sound so confident. And in one meeting I go with my foot shaking under the table, my voice shaking to talk and trying to get things done. And so, and well, I mean, I hope clients not listening, but saying more things that we could execute when me and no, after we leave the meeting, now I had to go and figure out how we could execute on them thing. That is not, well, let me tell you something, I know no joke. So salute to Daniel Lovelace. I'm glad to see him out there. I'm glad in a way too that it's him and his girlfriend out there. There's such a story to tell outside of just, like, he have valuable content outside of just the questions and the answers themselves. And salute my guy Naldo, who was reminding me this week. I didn't know about this at all, because I remember people on Facebook talking about it and they were upset that he embarrassing people. And Naldo was telling me last night that Alto, who's the adult literary, what's all your name, boy? Adult Literary Teaching Association. The hell is the name? What Alto supposed to stand for? Let me get this right before they say anything about me. Adult Literacy Tutors Association. You know, I don't mind signing up. I'm not playing. I ain't signing up for that. Let me pay me to teach, yes. So Alto, this is from February 21st, 2017. I guess in response to the fact that he was asking questions, and it was pretty clear that some of these people were at least functionally literate, right? So this is their response. A new video series called What You Know has been circulating on Facebook. This is from 21st of February 2017. The host asked people 5 questions which test their general knowledge and ability to spell. Goal of the video seems to be humor, as it specially selects those who answer incorrectly and subjects them to ridicule through short video clips or memes inserted after their responses. While What You Know is not solely focused on literacy, comments on the videos highlight the poor spelling and ridicule of the interviewees. People have shared the videos with no thoughts about how that affects those who have difficulty with reading or writing. The Adult Literacy Tutors Association provides free reading and writing classes to people 16 plus. And one of the videos produced by What You Know featured on Alta Level 1 student who was asked to spell a word. He was unable to spell it correctly and he was ashamed. And he was shamed, not ashamed, he was shamed. Since then, he has not returned to his Alta class or his workplace. We are trying to contact him and encourage him to return to Alta. The main reason people hesitate to come to Alta is the stigma associated with not being able to read or write. Our students struggle with the shame or fear before attending Alta, and it takes great courage to sign up for and attend the classes. Being shamed publicly has the potential to cause a student to never return to an Alta class and to dissuade potential students from coming to Alta. I should encourage. Shaming poor spellers increases stigma and encourages people to struggle silently rather than seek help. The production and sharing of the videos goes further to reinforce the antiquated thinking about literacy. I agree with that. I agree with the thinking about literacy is antiquated. It enables the false idea that literacy and intelligence are one and the same. I agree with that as well. Mostly because I have real problems. Well, the thinking is evident in our use of the term illiterate for someone who isn't smart rather than someone who isn't able to read. They went on to talk about the work they've done over the years and so on and so on and so on. Highlighting this to say that if you go out there and you start a business and then an institution like this comes out and says something like this is good enough reason for you to say, all right, maybe I should stop this. I should stop asking people what to spell. I should, you know what I mean? Just give up. And I can tell you that if I get to talk to Daniel Lovelace now, he's going to tell 1,000 stories with valid reasons about why he could have give up and not do what he had to do and not continue his journey. I will also tell you that while I am seeing this and celebrating his journey and calling what he's doing now success, him as well as any other entrepreneur, anybody who starts something, forget the word entrepreneur, anybody who start doing something, it could be a hobby. He's not where he wants to be. He has a different image in his mind now as to where he wants this show to be. It might be an NBC. We can't see that. So while we celebrate the success and thing, he might be well frustrated and trying to get his thing to our next level where he could get a better sponsor, better accommodation across Europe, a driver, a dedicated cameraman, so he and his wife could travel in peace without having to worry about those things. That's just the reality of starting something and getting something done and moving with it, you know what I mean? And making sure that you accomplish your goals or however you want to state it. So, I mean, in the context of Alta, the reason I agree with some of them statements is I can't really spell so well. I can't really read so well. I'm not good at it, honestly. It's very, very difficult. I mean, you know I can't read so well, right? The spelling is a hard thing. Handwriting, even worse. Sometimes I take notes in this podcast, right? Just to put edit points on what I need to. And when I'm done, I can't read what I write on the paper. It's bad. Handwriting, spelling. Like you see, there, and there is a random draw for me. It's a random draw. Whichever one come to my mind at the time I write in a sentence, I point it out there. And to tell you the truth, I don't really feel no way. People is always correct me about it on Facebook. Some people like to kind of shine you up and embarrass you. But I don't really feel no way, you know. To be honest, when somebody tell me I just change it, most times I will directly message them to avoid I don't want the back and forth. I do delete no comments. If you had it spelled wrong, it's cool. Like, I'm comfortable not knowing how to spell and not being so good at reading and stuff. But I hear what Alta's saying too. What Alta's saying is valid. It may be a stigma and shaming people and them kind of things work. I mean, I tell you how shame I was the other day, me going back and do no sample again, you know. But I want to follow the trend set by Daniel Lovelace. And no matter how embarrassed I am in that little toilet stall in Murray Street, I shall finish the job. The job shall be finished. Well, the job shall be a little bit finished, right? The job shall be a little bit finished. I know his situation. And I ain't coming back to discuss no results and things because I'm embarrassed and shame already. So all they ain't gonna make me do is pour my business in the road. But what I could tell you is if they call me and tell me the sample ain't enough, I'll let them know they have to work with what they have. I ain't going back through that a second time. Why you can't go home and do that? I could bring the thing in my own country. Why do I have to go on ice? How is that to keep it warm? What is the situation? You could tell me what temperature to keep it at. I could go home and do what I have to do and bring it back for you. I don't understand why mankind has to go through this. But hey, listen, to end off on a happier note, and don't really die. We up in the spot on Saturday. We in the Song Forge. We're gonna a little podcast link up. So a few people will tell me they'll be there. So I'll be there. Find me, especially the people who message me, who is talk to me and I don't know all and we never really meet in person. Only find me now. And let me make a little podcast link up and go down in the Song Forge so we can take in things like this. It's singing them.
Can you hear a distant drum bouncing on the laughter of a melody?
Yeah, yeah.
And does the rhythm tell you come, 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 come? Does your spirit do a dance to this symphony? Yeah, yeah. Does it tell you that your heart is higher? Oh yeah. And does it tell you that your pain is higher? Does it wash away all your unlovely? Well, are you ready for a brand new discovery? Calypso, Calypso, Calypso music.
Yeah, yeah.
Calypso, Calypso, Calypso music. Singing, oh yeah, oh yeah, Calypso. Singing, oh yeah, Calypso. I say that I am the seed of the ground and tiger now. I got to sing, oh yeah, Calypso. It is a living vibration, rooted
deep within my Caribbean belly.
Lyrics to make a politician cringe, or turn a woman's body into jelly.
Shake it up, shake it up.
It is a sweet soca music, Calypso. They could have never refuse it, Calypso. Make you shake like a Shango now, Calypso. Why it is you shaking, you don't know, that's Calypso. Calypso, Calypso, Calypso music. Yeah, yeah. Calypso, Calypso, Calypso. Music. Singing, oh yeah, Calypso. Singing, oh yeah.
It could be wrong to stop this before the bridge.
I say that I am the seed of Attila now. I'm like a honey, I've got to sing, oh yeah, Calypso. While executor kills them dead at the ribbon. Lord Invader conquers Berlin, but their hearts this time. And Lord Kitchener making old London feel so new.
As the beginner run terror too.
Fitzroy Coleman fingers dancing on the fret. And when you think that he through, he has got nothing yet. And Iggy Hall praised by the presence of Sparrow. When Slinger done with the tail, yeah, them shouting, don't go, Sparrow.
waterfall.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, calypso. I want to rise. I want to rise. From the time the first bamboo cut, and we drag it down from up in the St. Anne's Hills. From the day the bush shot will leave the band, the red jamming start, and today we jamming still creating rhythm that could be deadly like Headley. Only this time, this lyric and the melody was sending their soul to the boundaries. From the bongo drum to the roller guitar side. Well, ever since Europe come and she make bassa bassa, we jamming it calypso.
Hey, this you having a good weekend. They say Carnegie Hall graced by the presence of Sparrow. When Slinger done with the tail, the shouting, the one of the greatest lines ever written. So it's Song Forge graced by the presence of Rudder. We're going down there, we're going to enjoy it, my brother. So listen, I'll have a good week, have a productive week, have a safe week. Let me ease off for the thing, you know what I mean? Too much of panic with the bomb scare thing. I'm hoping that is the end of that. And I will be back here to check in with all in next week. So whatever happens, we go talk about it. Enjoy all the week. Bye.
Singing, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, calypso.